This episode is called Dragonstone. We have to talk about the big arrival, the way that we end this episode, the perfect way to end it. Dany arrives in Westeros, and I love that final line of, like, let us begin. I almost wanted a bit more of a punch of her finally landing on Westerosi soil. I felt like they could have underlined that a lot more, just huge impact of something we've been waiting for 6-7 seasons
I agree. It's funny because I know some people will say, no, they made it important, and they did, but it felt
like music,
just
and like
something a little bigger. Even though it was showing the gravitas to an extent, but it just felt, because of, like, we've waited since the very beginning of the show for her to reach Westeros, and we talked in the episode we did before, like, that she's got to get there this season, and hopefully right at the front, which they did. I think they had to get. The episode was called Dragonstone, so it'd been very strange if we didn't go to Dragonstone here. But yeah, I did almost want, like, a little more. But at the same time, it's like, the end of that episode and what they say, it's like, okay, this is it. Like, it's on. She's here.
And I do really like that experience of her walking back into Dragonstone, a setting that was really important, like season 2, but we haven't really been back to since. And seeing her walk through those halls, and I think they were smart to not really have any dialogue until the end, like having us remember, like Stannis being here, though I don't think we ever saw his throne, but like the painted table, we saw those in the flashbacks. And I think they did the same thing with the Hound story in this episode, where we go back to that setting with the farmer or whatever and his daughter, and we see that was very warm. Winter is here now. Think about how much time has passed. I think that was a really important thing that they underlined in this episode.
It's always funny when you get a Game of Thrones, which this one did, where the previously on is including stuff from years ago. They're like, oh yeah, they want to remind you that, like, you once saw Stannis at this castle. And you probably haven't thought about that in a while, but guess what? It's important again.
I loved the depictions of Westeros, though, between the painted table, which we've seen before, but also Cersei's map that she's had painted in King's Landing, which I love that map, that they released when the story started, and I'm glad that they've incorporated it into the show. But they're really doubling down on the idea that this is a Westeros set series from here on out. I don't think really any storylines will be taking place elsewhere unless, like, Dario pops up again,
it seems very difficult to, I guess, there could be tiny little tidbits, but I think, the story is now in Westeros, and what will happen with all these different factions coming together.
And we know the Night King is coming. And what a great moment, I thought. Like, it was very obvious in retrospect, but when we go to Sam in Old Town and we get that double meaning of why this is called Dragonstone, because we learn we desperately need Valyrian steel. Oh, of course Dragonstone would be sitting on top of, like, a massive amounts of dragon glass. I really like that we're now beginning to see how the pieces will come together, why people will be coming to Dany and need her help specifically. I thought that was really clever, a way to sort of bring those storylines together. What do you think?
Oh, no, yeah, definitely. I mean, because that, again, there really is such little time left, I mean, 12 episodes is not insignificant, but it's, it's not a ton. So it is time to really show, how everyone is going to either right now see each other as a foe, but also, like, what other people have that they need, And Dany, of course, is this big X factor because she doesn't have any awareness of the White Walkers. Like, she's there to claim her throne, but guess what? There's this other thing happening, and how quickly can she be convinced of that? And to help and to, offer up what is around her.
I think that she'll end up having sort of the same conversations that Sansa and Jon are having up in Winterfell, where he's like, we need to focus on the White Walkers. And she's like, yeah, but Cersei will kill you.
Right.
We need to focus on the South. I think Dany obviously wants to come and claim Westeros, will want to go to King's Landing. Where else does she go first? And should she distract herself from that to save the country as we know it? And a really interesting line from Jim Broadbent's character, the Archmaester, where he was saying,
Professor Slughorn?
I know Professor Slughorn is back. I really liked his addition to the show, but his whole comment about how everyone thought it would be the end and the world survived. And is this really going to be the end, or will the world survive after the White Walkers come?
Right.
I think that's a really interesting question to sort of have hanging over this season. And if you want more Game of Thrones, we have 2 fun interviews that came out recently. We had Gwendolyn Christie, who plays Brienne, and Nikolai Coster-Waldau, who plays Jaime, interview each other, and it's just as adorable as you would hope. And also, I'm going to plug that Kit Harington interview where he was talking about why Sansa is an irritant this season, and I'm very intrigued to see how that
I disagree,
plays
Kit. Agree.
So does she. And I think that'll about do it for us today, but we'll see you next week. We'll see you for all things Game of Thrones. Keep it here on IGN.
Dragons on the wall.